Okay guys, let me make another attempt because I got a call right when I started the last video anyway. So I'm hiking again. I'm hiking for the first time, I should say, because I never was a hiker. I'm a biker. I love my mountain biking. I love my gravel biking. I love riding on bike paths and roads. And I had to step back from that for a little bit because of the stem cell. And then I got stem cell. And if you look back on my videos, you will see that I've torn my bicep tendon, and I've done a lot of stuff just over the years from injuries. And so the stem cell was necessary to kind of rejuvenate the tendons and ligaments and all that stuff inside my shoulders and keep me going. Now, I like to be pain-free. I don't take any pain meds. I haven't taken pain meds for years. And I've injured myself several times. And so, obviously, after an injury, I feel pain. And what's different about the stem cell that I had, and you can listen to me while I do this hike, is the doctor works with a chiropractor. And it's really the chiropractor's thing. And he manipulates you while you're under anesthesia, and then puts your shoulder back in place and lines everything up. And he did this to me years ago with my right shoulder, and so this time I had my left shoulder done with some stem cell, and then I had a little more put in my right shoulder, but it was fine. But I just injected more, and you have to recover from that. You can't be doing vigorous exercises for about a month. But you can do, light things like this. And I'll be able to start riding my bike next week. But just, the riding bike is not really hard on your upper body, but there is constant vibration and constant engagement of those muscles while you're riding, especially when you're on rough terrain and you're on a rigid bike, like a gravel bike or my rigid mountain bike. So I am going to do this hike, and I want to tell you a little bit more about S.M.A.R.T spine, and I'm going to put a link in the description. The S.M.A.R.T spine is an amazing doctor, Dr. Richard Sayed, and he is a chiropractor that is way beyond your typical chiropractor, and he's been a successful practice for 30 years. Very well known in the community, very well liked. And he, when he did my shoulder the first time, that time my shoulder was completely frozen. I crashed, guess where, you guys? I crashed on El Prieto, and then I went down, and then my shoulder just froze afterwards. I could barely move it. I barely got out of that trail was in a lot of pain. I went to see him the next day, and he says, well, you really boogered it up. So I got an MRI. It showed a flap tear, showed all these tears and stuff inside my shoulder and my rotator cuff area. And he says, well, for this, you can have regular surgery, or you can try the stem cell. But he says, I do something different. When you're under anesthesia, I manipulate you and put that back in place. But before we do that, give me several months of getting you prepared for that. And I have a video on my Instagram of when he manipulated it under anesthesia. And that was my right shoulder. And it came out really amazing. Probably too amazing. I gained my strength back really well. I was doing stuff that's really hard on your shoulders, like dips, really deep dips, pull-ups, push-ups, bench press, shoulder press, all my strength exercises, plus my stability, agility exercises like burpees and planks and kettlebell. So I was able to do all that stuff. And I was doing great. Well, I probably overdid it. I think part of it was I was going real heavy on my biceps, and there was probably only a little bit of that bicep tendon left in, And that's what caused that bicep tendon to rupture. And you saw that video where I talked about that, and I was considering having that surgery, which is really 80% cosmetic. The functionality of my right arm and my right side shoulder and everything like that has not been affected by that tendon being ruptured. And I feel like I have full strength. They say you'll have 80% strength, but I feel like I have full strength. I have a little bit of limited functionality with certain things, like maybe opening a super tight jar or something like that, those rotating things like that. But it actually feels better than it did when I had that tendon was in the way. So now the left tendon is still intact, and I had my left stem cell, and I don't want to rupture it. I'd like to keep the complete functionality of my left side, and that's the arm I use for opening jars. So, and I'm laughing about this, but this is serious, you guys. Your functionality and your longevity are directly related, and the longer you keep your functionality, the better your wellness and longevity will be. And so here I am on this beautiful hike, on this beautiful trail, and just enjoying being outside. I don't want to go a long time without doing anything, so I'm doing this. But I'll be back to riding my bike next week, and I'll make those bike videos. So I hope you enjoy this content. I know it's probably pretty boring unless you're, intimately involved with these things like I am. It's a little bit boring for people, but I'm hoping people can relate to that because they're interested in stem cell and they never heard of manipulation under anesthesia, and working with a doctor that takes it to that next level of putting your shoulder back in place. Because a lot of people get shoulders dislocated and they remain out of place for years, and then they kind of form awkward scar tissue there where they're remaining out of place, and then that will lead to nerve damage and problems later on down the road. I could sleep comfortably on my sides. I can move my arms pretty much full range of motion. I'm a little bit limited on my left side still, but I also found out that day, and I should have led with this, that I had actually fractured my upper arm when I injured that left shoulder. So there was a fracture there on the hairline fracture on my humerus. That's the upper arm bone. So that, because we did imaging before you do the procedure. And so that is probably still healing. But if you guys know, I rode the rest of that 100 miles after that time I fell. And I rode two or three more 100-mile rides in addition to my shorter mountain bike rides. So, it's amazing what you can endure and, tolerate when you're just kind of thinking, oh, it's just a muscle strain. It's not anything serious. And then you find out later on it's an actual fracture. I'm glad I've got enough bone density that it didn't fracture all the way through. And I'm glad I've always had enough muscle that I've never broken a collarbone or anything like that. I think the collarbone fractures and some of those fractures are really prevalent on people that never really build up a lot of upper body mass. And maybe I have too much upper body mass. As a cyclist, I don't need that much, but it has saved me. So anyway, I'm going to continue my hike, and thanks for watching, and I'll make another video with another topic. Thanks.